Hello, fellow listeners and viewers of Kiwi Talks. Unfortunately, on this episode, I had some technical issues with my microphone, so I had to resort to using my computer internal microphone. With that being said, the show isn't even about me, it's more about the guest. And in this episode, Grant talks for a majority of the show as I merely steer the conversation. I still hope you can enjoy the episode with the legend himself. Thank you so much, Grant. Now, onto the show. Welcome everyone to the special edition of Kiwi Talks. I am speaking to one of the greatest video game composers of all time. He's composed for Banjo, Goldeneye, Perfect Dark, Mario plus Rabbids, and so much more. I'd like to welcome Grant Kirkhope. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to be talking to you during these weird times, for sure.
Oh yeah, you're right. Crazy times.
Yes, but you're alive and well and kicking, which is the main thing.
Yes. At the moment, it seems to be all going well at the moment. Who knows though? We're staying isolated, etc. So, but with the crazy president we've got, who knows what might happen next?
Yeah, well, that's right. And you've got elections just around the corner.
Yeah, so it's actually, this is our first time voting in the big election as citizens. So my son's just turned 18 too, so we voted in the midterms, but this is the first time we get to vote in the proper big election. So we're going to vote like crazy. Yeah,
I bet. Because how long have you been in LA now?
Since 2012. I think we're citizens like 2015, something like that, 2016, around there. Yeah. So we were green card holders before. You can't vote with a green card. You've got all the same rights as a citizen apart from voting as a green card holder. You have to be a citizen to vote. So we took the citizens thing, it must have been 4 years ago, I can't remember. But anyway, we can vote properly now. So.
Right. But was the main intent for when you moved to LA, was that so you could compose for film? Was that the main reason?
Yeah, sort of, yeah, I guess. I just feel like this is a hub, right? I mean, for someone like me who's completely unknown in film, yes, I guess that's the main reason we moved here. We were in Baltimore for 2008, and then we moved here 2012.
Have you had much luck on that front with the whole film thing?
It's tough. I mean, I've done some stuff, not lots. I've done a couple of indie stuff. I've done a little short animation. I've actually done one major movie, which is called The King's Daughter, starring Pierce Brosnan, would you believe, like Goldeneye, etc.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that's it's been fighting over for like 4 years now. I don't know what they're fighting over, but it's not out. It's a full-on, it was filmed at the Palace of Versailles in Paris, cost $40 million. It's a proper big full-on movie. I did it with two other composers. We did it together. And it's kind of a fantasy sort of thing, Disney-esque, I guess. Well, it's a bit darker than Disney, but it's got that kind of route to it. But it's just not out, and there's some fight about something, and I don't quite know what it is. I guess it'll be out one day. Who knows?
Do you have to work like when you got there? Did you get an agent of some sort to help you try and find any type of film that you could compose for, or is it just?
I think in the past, agents did a lot more than they do these days, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I feel like agents now are kind of the deal maker, the deal closer. So they take care of the financing and the contracts out, makes it all with the legal department, makes it all look like it's supposed to look like. You get the right rates for your music, all that kind of stuff, and they cover that. It's to cover you like legally. Pardon me. I feel like in the past they maybe did a bit more client promotion, or maybe they just don't do me. I don't know. But I did try to get an agent when I first got here, thinking it would be easy. And it was very hard. I went through all the kind of from the biggest to the smallest, and no one would take me on. And then I really wanted to be an agency called Gorfane's Thoughts because John Williams is on that agency. Yeah. He's my hero. And Michael Giacchino and Brian Tyler, and they've got gazillions of great composers on there, and quite a lot of good games guys too. I did eventually get on there, but it was a bit of a hooker by crook, trying as hard as I could. I finally got them to take me on, so they do represent me now. So I feel like having an agent is a bit like it legitimizes you. So if someone's trying to get you for a movie, they know you're gonna do the job that you say you're gonna do. So
right, I see.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing where it's like a shop front in a way. It's sort of like they can trust the fact you're not just anybody. You've got an agent, and then I've got a very powerful agent. Who if they know if they book me to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to run away with the money or something like that. So I guess it's a bit like that.
Mm-hmm. I do find it strange though that you'd have to work that hard given your name. I mean, you're well known. I mean, you got nominated for a BAFTA and other awards, I'm sure. So I find it strange that people wouldn't just be like, oh my gosh, Grant, yeah, sure.
Well, I still feel like games is slightly looked down upon as a second cousin to the movie guys. even though games are arguably bigger than movies these days, certainly in the money they rake in financially. So I do feel like it's still a little bit like that. Like a lot of the directors, the older directors, don't just think video games. It's like, it sounds like a Game Boy. They don't know that games have now moved on to full orchestra, just like movies are no different, really. I just think that they don't really realise that. So I do think that I feel like the only way to get into some kind of movie situation is to know the director, which is pretty tough. Like, because they get pitched by people all the time, right? And I've pitched for not hundreds, but lots of things at Disney, Pixar, all over the place, Cartoon Network, you name it. I've not got any of them. I must have done 30 or 40 maybe of those pitches and got absolutely nowhere. Not even a callback, not even a second chance. Just like, no. And I feel like that kind of cold calling pitching thing, it's unlikely you're going to get it. Because there's going to be 80 or 90 composers going for each of those jobs, which is credible, right?
Yeah.
And some of the guys might send in 2 or 3 submissions. So you triple it instantly, like 160, 240 composers. You know what I mean? It's like it's ridiculous. So if you're the guy trying to find the composer for the show you're working on, and you've got 240 entrants, how are you going to work out who's the guy for the show, right? You're probably going to go through the first 10 and go, oh, he'll do. Because you're not going to listen to all 240 submissions. It would take you weeks, right? So I do think that the path is to somehow have that chance meeting where you meet the director. Like I've met a guy now called Michael Matteo Rossi, who I've just done his last movie called Shadows, and I've done his new movie called The Handler, which is not out yet. And Shadows is not out yet, actually. It's going to be out later this year, I think. So he was a games fan. He's in his 30s. And I kind of feel that's my target director. Somebody in the 30s who played, because like, as you get to younger guys, everyone plays video games these days, right? The directors in the 60s, probably not. 50s, probably not. But in the 30s, 40s, maybe these guys have played games, certainly in the 30s. So there's a more chance of them knowing me or played games that I've worked on. So like Michael had played GoldenEye and Donkey Kong 64 and all sorts. So he was like, oh yeah, Grant, you know, he knew who I was, so it was fine, right? So that's kind of the way I think it works. I think you have to somehow get yourself into a position where you meet a director, which is ridiculously hard. Where it's don't like they hang out in a little room together and you have to go and find them. You know, it's the trouble. It's that chance meeting or something like that where you find someone like that. So I do think it's a hard thing. People do get lucky things happen to composers. You know, it's few and far between, but it happens. Like Michael Giacchino had done Call of Duty. J.J. Abrams had played the game, got him to do the Alias TV show, and then that was off, right? Lost, and that was it. It was off in his film career, right? After that, TV and did Lost, and then got into films. The first movie was The Incredibles. So, like, it does happen. But I can't think of another games composer like that apart from him. I can't think of anybody else, actually.
So, do you feel that you have more room for diversity within video game composing as opposed to film, though? Because usually with film, it's a bit more cinematic, right? Whereas with games, it can vary from game to game. I mean, obviously, you're composing for Banjo and Donkey Kong. It's very different from, say, Perfect Dark and Goldeneye.
Right. I mean, I do get that, but I feel like sometimes the movies these days seem to me to be pushing slightly towards less melodic, memorable tunes like they used to. Like I feel like John Williams scores or whatever, the 80s, 90s, etc. They're all the big melodies you remember forever, and from that point onwards, it gets to be less prevalent. And I don't quite know why that is. I guess I'm the kind of guy that likes to write a tune. But you have to remember that working on a game like Mario Rabbids or even Civilization, they're big epic scores, right? And the cinematic sequences are just like movies stuck together, right? It's no different. It's a cinematic sequence that's 10 minutes long. You got to write music for it. It's like I write a scene in a movie, right? It's no different. So it's just getting people to understand that, games have come a long way since the Game Boy. That was like 1995 or 1990. And I think a lot of people don't believe that. They don't know what's going on in games. So they still think it sounds like that, or like an arcade machine. They don't really know it sounds like, we're all writing, a lot of us are writing big, huge, giant orchestral scores that are just as cinematic as movies, no difference, right? So I do feel like it's getting that across. It is getting across, but it's a slow process because the older directors still won't believe it. They have to have heard something you've done to get you in. Like they're just going to go, right, I've got a multi-million-dollar movie. I'm making a AAA movie here. I need one of the Hollywood guys. I'll pick one of the Hollywood guys because they've done it a million times before. They're not going to take a risk on somebody new in case it goes wrong, and they look daft for doing it and cost the studio money, right? So everyone's scared of losing the jobs. So that's that thing that you have to kind of overcome. So I'm just trying as hard as I can, like anybody else is.
Because how do you go about composing? Do you just sit there and jam? Do you have a melody in your head? Do you start with a chord progression? Because obviously you have a very, very good sense of melody. But I'm just interested in your actual process.
Yeah, I mean, like my process hasn't changed since I started Rare in 95. It's no different. I'm not a very intellectual composer. I'm the kind of guy that just sits there and messes around until I like the sound of it. And I'll find a melody or a chord sequence or whatever it is, load up a sample or clarinet, a bassoon, a synth, whatever, and start messing around until I hear the thing that I like, you know. And I guess that, you know, it's a bit like handwriting, you know. I write music a certain way. It's just, you know, I like sounds of certain chord sequences, certain melodies. So I guess you get your own style after a while because you just like things a certain way. And I guess people hire me for that reason. And you know, when you handwrite something, you've got your own style of handwriting. It's just the way you are, right? It's a bit like hearing Brian May play the guitar. You can notice him a mile away even before you notice him because he's got a certain way he plays notes, where he selects notes, the vibrato. Eddie Van Halen, of course, you know, just passed away. It's exactly the same thing, you know, him a mile away, right? And those are the guys that you remember because they've got their own style. So I do feel like I just mess around, but it just comes out sounding like me most of the time, you know, unless I'm trying to sound like something else.
Yeah. So because I think the big first game that you did kind of was Goldeneye. I mean, you did you did work on David Wise's score for Donkey Kong, but Goldeneye was like your first big kind of game, wasn't it? Working with Graeme.
Right.
So how did you guys decide which levels you do in terms of scoring?
It was just haphazard, really. I think what happened was when I first got to Rare, Graeme was doing GoldenEye and Blast Core at the same time, and I started on the Game Boy, and he just said to me, I'm getting busy on Blast Core. Can you take over GoldenEye? He'd done a little bit of it. And I said, yeah, sure. So I just went through the level list in order. So that's mostly why it turned out as it was. I guess we did about half and half each, I guess, somewhere around there. And Graeme did all the sound effects. So it just ended up like that. I think I just went at the level list at the time and just ticked them off and went through the ones until I ran out of time and I got taken onto Banjo Kazooie and I didn't finish GoldenEye. And Graeme came back and finished it off. So there was no rhyme or reason to that. It was just the way it turned out.
Was it easy and hard at the same time to score? Because I'd imagine when you're scoring GoldenEye, because obviously you already had the chord progression, you knew you had to use the theme, but at the same time you're having to remix the same thing constantly as well.
No, it was just super. That was fantastic fun. I think someone like my age, you know, when I was a kid, right, the Bond movies coming out, it was the biggest thing that year. It was the best movie, at the best sets, the best music, the best everything, right? So getting to do GoldenEye was like fantastic. I couldn't believe it. You know, I got to mess with the James Bond theme, which is amazing, right? Everyone knows the James Bond theme. So, and I think Monty Norman, who wrote the theme, we got the rights to it to use it. I'm not convinced that any other Bond game from that point almost got to use it. We could use it anywhere we liked, which is pretty special, right? You know. So, you know, I was just trying to think of different ways to do it. And I had a double CD at the time that contained all the pop songs from all the movies to that point. You know, Shirley Bassey and Duran Duran and all that stuff. So I listened to those and, you know, pick bits out of those that I liked. We had Eric Serra's score, of course, from GoldenEye itself, which is a bit of an odd one for a Bond score. It's not traditionally Bond sounding, really. But they were trying to update Bond at the time. It was the first time Bond came back with Pierce Brosnan. You know, they're trying to make it a different thing. But, you know, to get a chance to mess around with that was fantastic. Like, I really enjoyed it. I had great fun doing it. I just try to think of different ways to stick stuff together. Like, you know, that Frigate is my Faith No More, We Care a Lot beat with Duran Duran's orchestral stab stuck together and my own, you know what I mean? It was just great fun to do it. And of course, it was my first proper game, so I didn't really know what I was doing. So a lot of the times when you don't know what you're doing, the best stuff comes out because you've got nothing to judge it by. You just do what's coming out of your head, right? So
that's so true.
Yeah, I just sort of did what I thought was right and crossed my fingers. You know.
Yeah. So, because obviously you did the first level and the last level.
Right.
So, did you get a trailer or some type of gameplay video when you were scoring it, or would you just sit down at your keyboard and just be like, okay?
Yeah, well, because GoldenEye was very late. It was super, super late. So it's supposed to come out with a movie. I don't think it came out till maybe the next movie.
No,
so far behind. It's crazy. It's crazy behind. So I was scoring most of the time to a couple of sentences in a bit of paper that just said, "This is the cradle. It's action." Or I don't know. I've seen the movie, of course. I knew the scenes from the movie, But it was basically that. There was nothing to watch. I never saw any videos, never saw any gameplay. I just wrote out of my head what I thought was right.
Was that the same process with Banjo, Perfect Dark, and Donkey Kong? Because you worked on all three of those at the same time, didn't you?
Right, different then, because they'd have stuff going on. And they had, I was sat actually in with the all my time at Rare. Most of the time I was sat actually in the team block with the banjo guys. So we were kind of teamed together. And I had a room in that block with them. So I obviously what's going on every day. People making stuff new. From day one, I knew what banjo was going. I knew what was going on with my banjo. Perfect Dark not so much because I wasn't in that team block, but I would see it. And Donkey Kong, I wasn't in that team block either, but I would see it. So I knew what was going on with it. So that's different. But I think it was still mostly like, this is an ice level, this is a forest, this is a whatever. You still shut your eyes and imagine what it might be like. So Perfect Dark was a sci-fi cyber thing. I was thinking about the X-Files. I loved the X-Files at the time, and also Blade Runner. I felt like it had that real Blade Runner sense to it, and especially that Chicago stealth, which that's my favorite piece from that game, with the kind of rainy, hot, steamy, just like Blade Runner at the start. So. That was thinking about that. And Donkey Kong, of course, is a known quantity. It's what Donkey Kong's going to be like. But I was trying to make it a bit different because I was doing Banjo Tooie and Donkey Kong at the same time. So I wanted to try and, because of both platforms, I wanted to try and separate them both. I felt in my head it was like Banjo's a bit more quirky, DK's a bit more dark. Because I felt like Dave Wise's music in Donkey Kong, which is fantastic, was slightly darker. I felt in feel. So I tried to separate them in my head like that. So that's why I don't know whether that sounds like to anybody else, but I felt DK's a bit darker than Banjo. But there's certainly more to see on those games. But even so, it's still talking to the game director who says, this is the level. I ask him what's it about, what's it set in, what are you imagining? Have you got some kind of examples of music? And most of the time they didn't. I just shut my eyes and got on with it.
When you wrote Spiral Mountain and Treasure Trove Cove, what was your process when you were writing those? Because obviously you would have had notes again, but was that something where you just jammed and then...
basically that. Spiral Mountain was like I was just trying to find a jolly tune. That was it. A jolly tune that I felt summed up the training level that you trained in. Treasure Trove Cove was slightly different. I'd written a different piece for that. Right, I went through the game in order. Apart from writing, I did Clockworks first, but that was because I'd written the piece before. So it wasn't quite at the time. So doing Treasure Trove Cove, I had another piece going on. It's kind of more. There's a version of it on YouTube somewhere you can find. That's my original version, which is kind of a bit more surfy. And also I had a bit kind of a Beach Boys Wipeout bit in the middle of it, which I've lost that. I can't find that. And that's how it was. That's how it was in the game. And it wasn't until I got towards the end of the game that Chris Stamper, who's one of the bosses, Chris and Tim Stamper around the company, said, Grant, the rest of the levels are great. We just feel like Treasure Trove Cove and also Mumbo's Mountain don't quite fit. And so I rewrote those right at the end of the game. So Treasure Trove Cove we kicked into what it is, and Mumbo's Mountain changed to what it was. Mumbo's Mountain had more of a. It was more not bluesy. It was like a. It's my take on. There's a movie called The Elephant Walk, something like that. It's an old black and white movie from the 60s. It's got a tune in it a bit like that, and I was trying to copy that feel of it because it was a jungle. I thought it wasn't. I thought it was. And so I rewrote Mumbo's Mountain because I feel like I'd hit on that kind of banjo quirkiness later in the game when I'd kind of found that tritone style. So I went back and switched it to that. So Mumbo's Mountain became what it is, more tritone, that oddball and similar with Treasure Trove Cove. So, if the boss tells you to rewrite it, you rewrite it, right? That's what you do.
Well, how often would that happen, though? How often would you submit something and they'd be like, no, write it again?
Hardly ever.
Okay.
I think it rare. I had the reputation for being a grumpy, miserable git at Rare. So people would just leave me alone and not moan at me because I'd get in such a bad mood about them to rewrite stuff, which is the wrong attitude completely, but it was kind of funny at the time. Everyone knew I was a bit of a grumpy git, so it's funny. Greg Mails used to push back on a couple of things, but I really find it, there's not too many. When I look through on my Rare files now, I've got on my computer, and I look through, there's not much in there that I didn't use. Dream turned into Banjo Kazooie, so I've written 100 pieces of music for Dream, and a lot of that stuff got chucked away. But some of the boss pieces made it into Dream, or other pieces made it into Viva Pinata later, so I did reuse it. So there's not an awful lot of waste at Rare. I mostly wrote the piece and went, yeah, it's fine. That'll fit. So I had very little pushback at Rare. I guess, they trusted me in the end. I guess when I was there in the first year or so, I guess they didn't trust me. They didn't know what I was going to do. They had no idea if I was going to make it or not. Then Dave there was brilliant, Robin there was brilliant, Graeme there was brilliant. It's like, that was the new boy. So I could have been completely useless. So I guess in the end of it, they trusted me to just get on with it. And when I produced something, they liked it. So I guess I did all right in the end. But not an awful lot of pushback.
That's good. I suppose with Nintendo, though, when you did the rearrangement of Spiral Mountain for Smash Brothers, there was a lot of back and forth with them, though.
Yeah, but that wasn't really. So that started off when I got the PowerPoint document from Mr. Sakurai. That kind of, it was a composer's kind of Bible how to do it. It was like it just basically said be like a 4 second intro at the start of the piece, then go straight into the main theme, then take it down a bit in the middle somewhere, and then bring it back up in volume for the loop at the end, and wrap it around. That was the kind of basic, the PowerPoint. Don't talk to any Smash composers. We're all separated, etc., like that. So I thought to do Spiral Mountain. I didn't know that was going to be the background. Then they didn't tell me that. I just guessed. I just thought I'd do it. I just thought, what piece shall I pick? I thought I'll pick that. And they also said to me, you can do a medley if you like. Put different pieces together. So I started off with a kind of big orchestral intro. I went to the big orchestral bit, and I went to the banjo bit that was at the start in the middle somewhere. Sent it off, and they said, we like it, but look, we think we'd like it now to start with the dry country and western banjo style at the start, and then gradually go orchestral and get bigger and more epic towards them, which is completely opposite to what they asked for in the PowerPoint document. So I did that, sent it off, and it's a bit, actually, we think now we'd like you not to do a medley. You just do Spiral Mountain. You can have little sections of other music. So in the middle of the piece, there is like little references to other banjo pieces. And that was it. Loved it. But the only thing I did about 10 versions of that, which is unusual for me. But the only thing Mr. Sakurai kept asking for was to have less reverb. Because I think living in LA over here, it's all about that big kind of Hollywood sound. And I guess that in Nintendo remixes, I've got quite a dry sound, really. So they wanted me to match up with them. So it kept saying turn it down, and so I turned it down to where it ends up now. But they loved it. And then, listen to me, actually, funny enough, the fighting stage is going to be Spiral Mountain. I was like, well, that's a stroke of luck, And then they said to me, you know what, we really like it. We think they need it for the trailer. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. They can use it for the trailer, So I was so flattered that they thought it was that good to use for the trailer. So, that was one of those kind of career moments where you're never going to forget it. That whole outpouring of emotion when they showed the trailer and people went ballistic, didn't they? They went crazy when Banjo got announced. It was like such a heartwarming, humbling thing to see people go in tears over the fact that Banjo had made it into Smash Brothers, and I'll never forget that. That was such a special moment for me. And I mean, I've watched some of the reaction videos a couple of weeks ago, and like just watching those people, like the Nintendo store in New York, like just going crazy and just crying and shouting, and it was unbelievable. And I was sitting here in tears like everybody else when they announced it. Like it really was. It was like so special. But like they announced it at like 9:40 in the morning, like LA time, and they said to me, "You can't comment on it until the tune itself and the video is up on the Smash Brothers website. So I had to wait." So it was 11 o'clock in the morning for that episode. Like I went from 9:40 to 11 o'clock, like an hour and 20 minutes. I had to sit there and wait, and I couldn't. My Twitter was just going, like this, and I was like, I was dying to go. It's me. I couldn't say it. So finally at 11, they gave me the okay to go. It's okay. You can tweet about it. So I tweeted it out at that point, that little video that I did. But yeah, that was a really, I think to get Mario Rabbids and be the only Western composer to do Mario, which was ridiculous, and then to get Spiral Mountain at the time, I think I was the only Western composer to be in Smash as well. I mean. That is just like career highlight for me forever. I may never get to that heights ever again. I mean, that was a special thing.
Well, you'll always be the first guy, even if there's another Western composer that works with Nintendo, Mario, or Smash Brothers. You will always be the first guy, so you can always claim that.
Oh yeah, I just hope my career keeps going.
But now that you've kind of got your foot in the door with Nintendo, have you ever tried to be like, hey? Need me to compose anything else?
I've said to them, if anything, you think that I'd be a good fit for, give me a shout, and they say they will. But I mean, we've got a lot of good composers at Nintendo. They don't need me,
of course. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I feel like there's a line of communication to Nintendo now, that I do know who to contact, and they know how to get hold of me if they want to get hold of me. So, like I say, I don't think it'd be very unlikely because they've got such a lot of great composers over there. They don't need me to do anything for them.
They do. I mean, before obviously doing this podcast, I was listening to a lot of your stuff, and I was listening to Perfect Dark, and I was thinking, man, you'd be very good at doing Metroid because it has the similar type of feel in terms of like the ambient vibe, futuristic sound, and even some of the type of drone type strings that you use, particularly on I think the first level that you did. I was thinking that, you could be real good. And I think they're composing it within America as well, so it could probably work out if...
I think it's nice to get to do a variety of stuff. So, people know me for that kind of quirky, funny sound, but, doing Kingdoms of Amalur and doing Civilization and, games like that, and it's very different, and I've just done something now that's different again, actually, which I can't talk about yet. So it's... as a composer, it's nice to get a variety of stuff to do. It's nice. And I do feel like us media composers, like we like to call ourselves these days, you have to be good at just about everything. You have to be able to get around as many things as you can to make yourself more employable. So if you're good at one thing, you're probably not going to get employed too much. But you can do lots of different styles well. You may be going to get a bit more work, So I think that's a lesson I learned from Rare, like having to work on so many different things. You do have to just be a jack of all trades, really.
Yeah, do you prefer freelancing to working at an actual company?
I do, actually, a lot. I mean, because I guess you miss the camaraderie a little bit, but I'm pretty miserable, so I like my own company.
Well, it's good at the moment, specifically. So
right, yeah. But I mean, I think that what I like about me being a freelancer is, I mean, it's a bigger risk because you might not get any work and you might be done for, right? It's completely possible. But I do like the way I can set my own work hours. Like I know when I work best. Like I know that I'm best first thing in the morning, like 8:45 till about 2 in the afternoon. I'm with it. After that, I get a bit tired and I'm sleepy. I don't want to do any work. So I'll maybe stop working about 2 and then maybe work again at night if I'm really busy. Maybe 6, 7 o'clock at night. So that's been at a company. You can't do that in the afternoons. You have to kind of battle through and maybe not be very good. So I used to do music in the morning and do sound effects in the afternoon because I feel like sound effects are a bit more functional task as opposed to creative music task, So, so that's where I viewed it. So I do like being a freelancer. I get to see my kids a lot more. Just daft things, especially living in LA, because living in LA, the commute's always big because no matter where you are, it takes forever to get anywhere because the traffic's ridiculous. Yeah. So you're back late at night. So, but being a freelancer is that thing where you might not have a great year. Or a great 2 years or whatever. You might just not get any work. People might want to employ you, so it's difficult. But I guess there are more people to bump into here. There's an awful lot of entertainment in LA, from the movies down to, you name it, everything's here. So you could arrange to meet somebody. You want to meet for coffee and get along with somebody, all that kind of stuff, So I do like being in LA. It's super expensive. There's bloody fires are ridiculous, et cetera, all that stuff, right? But I do like it.
Has it taught you to be more financially savvy by being a freelancer? Because obviously you're never promised work, right? So you could get a huge amount of work for a certain period and then have none. I know with certain actors that I've talked about, like that's one of the things that I've had to learn.
I've always been financially responsible. That's the way I am. When I was a kid, my dad died pretty young. I was only 16 when my dad died. Mum had to work every crap job you can think about to make ends meet for me and my brother. My brother moved out, it's just me and her for ages. So I always, we went from being like reasonably all right off to being very badly off for quite a long time. So I think this really taught me, to always have something in reserve. I'll always keep money back. I'm not a crazy, stupid spender. I've never been like that. My wife thinks I'm just too tight. Like I say, I'm Scottish, right? So what can you say? I'm Scottish, I was born in Scotland, but I lived a lot of my life in Yorkshire. That's equally tight. So I'm Scottish Yorkshire. It's the worst combination for being tight in the world. I feel like I have always been that kind of person that will have something sat there just in case for a rainy day. So I've always been like that.
Do you work well under pressure?
I do. I do like pressure, actually. I mean, I think my wife always says that, when I'm not under pressure, I'm a pain in the ass. So I do like that thing where I've got to get things done quickly. And I speak fast, right? I do everything fast. I'm a fast worker, so I do get stuff done quick. I guess, I like the pressure. I mean, I've never been under... I had 1 year where it was ridiculous, and I kind of thought it was my own fault for taking on too much work. But apart from that, I've been all right. I do like that pressure of getting stuff done. It makes you be creative. And I guess also, I've been a staff composer at Rare for 12 years was a great training to be. I'm not the kind of composer that sits in a darkened room waiting for the hand of the Lord to hand me a song. I'm not like that. I'm a workman-like composer. I sit down and play something. I don't really get writer's block. I just get on with it. Not like a conveyor belt, but being a staff composer, I mean, you went to work in the morning at 9 o'clock, you started writing music at 9 and you finished at 5, went home and did it the next day and the next day and the next day. So I feel like sometimes a lot of composers get a little bit like, I've got to sit and wait for the inspiration and, you know, I don't have that. I don't do that.
That's really good.
I get on with it. Like, I feel like set yourself, you know, I speak to other composers who have trouble. I say, look, you know, set yourself hours. You work from 9 till 5 or whatever it is, but set yourself those hours that you sit there and do it. You don't go do anything else. You sit at the keyboard and look at it, and you play the first note and the second note and the third note. Before you got it, you've got a tune. Before you know it, you got a tune. You know, I feel like that's the way I look at it. I think when it's a job, like it's a job for me, you have to be able to pull it out of your bottom. You know, so whatever you want to call it. I just think you got to do it like that. So you write something every day. If it's crap, it's crap. But write something every day. It's the only way to do it. That's the way I feel about it. I think that having that staff training, doing that staff experience for all those years, has stood me in good stead for you know, getting on with it.
Have in regards to when you write a piece of music, have you ever written a piece of music and be like, this is so good, this is going to be iconic, this tune? Or is it just kind of one of those things you're just like, oh yeah, write one piece and then on to the next piece? Never really think about it again.
Yeah, but I mean, that makes sense. I'm not matter of fact. I don't just go, I just toss it off and not care. I'm not like that. Like, I do try, you know, massively hard everything I ever write, always. And you never know if it's going to be good or not until somebody else hears it. You might think it's great, but this person might not. It's just the way it is. And I think as a composer for hire, like I am, you can't get too attached to music. You have to be prepared to go, right, I'll start again. You don't like it, I'll do it again. You know, when you're writing, if you write your own music, a pop song of your own or a piece of your own, you do what you like. It's up to you. Anything you like, you know, you're going to get yourself to please. But when you're hired out as somebody else, you have to be prepared to go, yeah, I'll change it, even though you think it's brilliant. You've got, you know, I feel like, I would say to other composers, you know, don't argue with the creative director. It's a stupid idea. They're just going to fire you and get somebody else to do it. It's just not a clever thing to do. You know, and like so many composers are going to go, I'm the composer, I know what I'm talking about. This guy, the creative director, is not musical. He doesn't understand. Like, I understand it. Like, he doesn't understand it. And like, no matter how many times you tell him it's a great chord, it's a great tune, he's just going to go, I don't care. I don't like it. You know, and that's what you're up against. You have to go, fine, I'll do it again. I'll change it. You know, my experience at Rare being a grumpy git and not doing stuff really and kind of, you know, being that way, I'm completely the opposite now. If someone says change it, I'll just go, fine, I'll do it. I haven't got a problem with that because they're paying me money, and you know, if I hire the guy to fix my car or whatever it is, I want it fixed the way I want it fixed, right? I don't want it fixed the way you want it. I want to do it what I want to do, or do the garden, whatever it is. You want to get it the way you want it, right? So anybody hiring a composer is exactly the same as that. They want the music the way they want it to be, and it doesn't matter what you think. Yeah, obviously they want to hear your input, and you're going to write something that you think is appropriate. But if they don't like it, it's like, well, yeah, great, that's great, but music, I don't like it, it doesn't fit. It's no point arguing about it. Just go, right, I'll do it again. What's the point of arguing? Because there's like 8 million people stood behind you. And 8 million people stood behind you who want to take that job. They want to take your job. They'll take it, they'll jump into your shoes immediately, you get fired. You know, so it's a fruitless exercise to disagree with the creative director.
Is it the same in the UK, though, in terms of the rules around works? Because I know, say, in America, you know, you can just get fired just whenever. Is that the same? Do those same rules apply within the UK? Like when you were working at Rare, is it different in terms of the work laws? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I feel it's different in the UK. You get like written warnings, etc. There's a process to get rid of you. In the US, it's on the spot. Pack your bags. Usually in the US, you'll get called into HR for a chat, and while you're in the HR, there's the IT guys outside looking at your computer. So when you come back out and getting fired, you can't get your stuff off the computer. Like they do it, that's how they do it. There's no.
Really?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, there's none of that nonsense. So like you'll be in the office getting told you're getting fired, while the IT guys going locking your computer. You can't get into it. You can't get any work off it. Like all that stuff. Like that's how they do it here.
So were you aware of that before you went to America?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, all right. So is that kind of what prompted you to kind of shift somewhat and just do what you're told by the creative director?
No, it wasn't. Well, no, not really. No, not at all. I think I just feel like. Yeah, it's that thing. It's that slow understanding of, you know, I've seen composers lose very big jobs from arguing with the creative director. Very big franchises going, we're not going to hire you again, mate. Even though I like your music, we're not working with you again because you're a pain in the ass. You know, so I learned very early on not to do that. It's just it's a waste of time. It really is. If you want to be that pig-headed, that's up to you. Go and write your own music. If you get paid by somebody else, they're going to want it the way they want it. And that's it. If you don't want to do it, I'm sure they're going to find somebody else in 5 seconds flat who will do it for the money.
Yeah. I think some creative people, though, obviously they're almost very sensitive when it comes to their work.
I totally get that. I'm not immune to it. I don't kind of go, oh yeah, I mean, it hurts. I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same. I'm the same. So I totally get it.
Yeah. I think some younger guys don't get that at the start. And after they get fired a few times, they might start to understand it.
Well, yeah, sometimes some people have to learn the hard way, right?
Right.
Yeah. So is there a particular genre, because obviously when you're dealing with video game composing and you deal with different genres, is there a particular genre that you struggle to write with?
Not so far. I've been all right. I seem to get asked to do a lot of orchestral stuff these days. So I like writing orchestral music. So nothing that I really feel like I can't. I don't think I'd be really good at doing proper EDM. I'm not great at that. Or something particularly modern like hip hop or something like that. Probably, I could probably get around it, but I don't think it'd be that great.
You did hip hop for Donkey Kong.
Well, I know, but that's not quite. I guess that's arguably not particularly high quality hip hop, right? I'll have a go at anything. I really will have a go at anything. And I'll see, because I feel like that's part of the trade, right? You listen to a piece of music, you try and work out what's going on and do it yourself. That's how I learned in the first place. And that's how I learn now. If I need to do a John Williams orchestral piece, I'll try my best. I'll try and work out what he did. If I need to do some kind of rock track, I've played in metal bands for years, so I'm good at that. Well, I think I'm good at that. I'm reasonable at that. I feel like I can get around most things, apart from things that are, like I say, EDM. I just don't feel like I've got the nous for that. But I've never been asked to do that, so. Yeah.
So, do you write stuff fully in MIDI and then get either yourself or another composer to record? These days, obviously, it's different to the old days, but you know how there's some composers that they'll record everything themselves. Because what instruments do you play? You play keys.
Badly, and I play trumpet and guitar well-ish. I'm a terrible keyboard player. When it comes to orchestral stuff, sometimes they can't afford to employ a live orchestra, so you have to use your samples, right? So there's lots and lots of, I'm sure huge sample libraries out there that sound amazing, like Spitfire libraries and the Hollywood music and all that stuff that's out there. It's all there to be bought, and it sounds great. It takes a bit of massaging. You've got to play it out at times. It sounds like human beings, So like on my Rabbids, there could be 45 minutes of live orchestra, and the rest is just me out the box, on my sample libraries, yeah. So if they've got the budget, you'll do a live orchestra. If you haven't, you'll do orchestra in your bedroom, And I play guitar. I could play most stuff. So you program the drums, play the bass, play the guitar, play the keys yourself if you need to. So that's all doable, I think. I couldn't play any kind of string instrument like violin or something like that. I couldn't do that. But I could play trumpet and most of the stuff. But I haven't really come across that really. I've most of my stuff is either gone to live orchestra or I've done it out the box here. So I play ukulele for the ukulele game and bits and pieces like that, that kind of stuff. So, I learned that to play that. It doesn't take very long to learn to play at least a few chords that get around it. And if you can't play it great, you play it in bits and put it together later, right? So I think it's all infinitely doable now. I think that, Hans Zimmer said he can write a film score with a laptop and a mic, and I think he's absolutely right. You probably can. Yeah,
I mean, obviously there are some instruments that are a bit more easier to emulate through, say, a keyboard or through a sample pack, orchestral instruments. But like guitars, for example, they're a lot harder to sound realistic. I think like some things like that, the guitar does tend to sound better if played by somebody. If I'm lucky that I can play that, so that's not a problem for me. Yeah, of course. I think the orchestra stuff, you can get that to sound pretty good. There's people over here that just do MIDI mock-ups, they call them, into a MIDI orchestra with the sample packs. They sound fantastic. You can't tell the difference. That's all they do. So if it went to live orchestra, I'd hire an orchestrator who then take my stuff and put it to music and then go to the orchestra and they play it. That's how it works. I just think that you can do it in your bedroom now. You really can. But for most, there's always something you probably can't do. Like if you need to, I don't know, sample a didgeridoo, you probably have to find someone that plays it. I've got
a decent didgeridoo library, actually, which is not bad, which you probably can't tell. But if you found like an Alpine horn, the big massive horn that's like 25 feet long and the blow down it, you're not going to find that in your bedroom, you know. So, but I think a lot of stuff you can get by in your bedroom.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to Donkey Kong for a second because I want to know what was your process in terms of writing that, the rap. Did you write the lyrics as well?
So what happened was George Andreas, who was the Donkey Kong game director, was an assistant designer on Banjo Kazooie, and he got to do DK64 by himself after that game. So he said to me, "Look, I want it to be like we're bringing DK up to date." So it was like, you know, it was like 2000, whatever it was, 1998. I can't remember.
Yeah, 98 or 99 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and of course, at the time, you know, hip hop and rap is big, right? It's gigantic now, but it's still big then. So he said, "Look, why don't we do a rap track at the start? And it'd be funny, the monkeys rapping." I said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that." And he had this idea. He wrote the lyrics, right? And he had this idea of there's a track at the time called "It's Like That," but that's the way it is by Run DMC and Jason Nevins. I think it's a kind of cover thing. Yeah. So he liked it, that kind of fast tempo. And I said, "Oh no, you don't want that." I was because I'm not up on that kind of music. I said, "Look, he wants to be like that kind of funky called Medina track by I can't remember who does that." And I found that drum beat on at a synth Roland JB 1018 at the dance extra expansion track in it. And I found that that's that funky cold Medina. I thought, yeah, that's it. So look, George, believe me, I'm right, you know. Anyway, so off we went. So he was one of the rappers on it, and Chris Sutherland, who was the lead programmer on Banjo, was also the other rapper on it. Because Chris could do a lot of voices. So we had a little makeshift recording booth at Rare. I just had the drum beat playing, and they just rapped it out. And I said, look, what we should do is associate an instrument with the character. So DK with the trumpets, Diddy Kong was the guitar, Tiny Kong was the big baritone sax because she's small and that's a big instrument. You know, Chunky Kong was I can't remember, whatever it was. And just that. So every verse, when it changed to a different monkey or ape, you'd have the instrument playing in the background. And that's how it worked. Like the big timpani drums, I think, was for Chunky. And so that was it. And I thought, yeah, hilarious. That's people are going to love it. You know, got it all put together, stuck it in the game. We thought it was funny. But when it came out, of course, no one thought it was very funny at all. Everyone thought it was me trying to have a credible go at writing proper hip hop rap music, which of course I wasn't. So it kind of the joke didn't really, you know, become that great at the time, and I got a bit of a slagging off for it. People used to like the music in the game, but didn't like the rap. But it was mostly kind of teenagers, like kids who were like, you know, when you get to first get into credible music, if you like, you're a teenager, right? I guess that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So they were all like into credible music going, oh, Grant's is crap, you know. But the young kids who were like 5 to 10, 12, you name it, whatever, thought it was fantastic. They loved it. They'd take it out, they all knew the words, they'd dance around in the pajamas, you know, with to their parents, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of feel like the DK rap at the time didn't go down so well, but it kind of 20 years later, everyone seems to like it now. But I guess it's that kind of funny thing where they get the joke now. They didn't get it at the time.
It got remixed and smashed. It got remixed and smashed.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The Nintendo remixed it a few times over the years. I kept thinking, everyone hates it. Why are you doing that? You know. But there was something in Australia, I'm sure, over your side of the world, where there's some kind of Smash tournament going on, and the entire audience in the room started chanting the DK rap. I've seen that a few times. It was so heartwarming to see those people do that at a tournament. It was packed full of people, and then some guy started, and everyone just sang and knew all the words, and it was just brilliant, you know. So I do feel like it's kind of got a second lease of life now, and it's become one of those kind of video game things that everyone loves to hate or hates to love or whatever it is, you know. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's one of those crazy things that I feel like on my tombstone it's going to say, "Here lies the body of Grant Kirkhope. He wrote the DK rap." It's going to be like that. It's going to be like, never mind what else he did. That's all that's important. I mean, if that's the case, that's the case. It's fine. I don't mind.
Did you ever walk past? I mean, because obviously you worked at Rare with David, Graeme, Robin. Did you ever walk past and hear what they were listening to, and that would inspire you, or be like there was a competitiveness there where you're like, oh, I've got to write something better than them?
I think there was a bit of a competitive edge, but I think it was prevalent throughout all of Rare. The teams were kept very separate. We had there's an old manor farmhouse that Rare had bought, right, and they had lots of outbuildings that were kind of old stables for horses, and they finally converted each stable into a development block. So this called the stables. All the teams were in, but every stable had a different. You couldn't get in. All the keys were coded. So you couldn't get into another block stable to see what they're up to. You couldn't see it. So the music guys were in a block together because they'd been there before me. Because I was a new boy, I was in the old chicken shed. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I was in the old chicken shed by myself when I first got there, and they were in the music block. And I finally moved into the banjo team itself, and because I like to be in with the team, it was cool, right? But they were in the music block. So yeah, it was like that. So it's kept separate. So all the teams definitely had a kind of competitive edge to try and be better than the other team. But it was friendly. It wasn't like nasty. You didn't really see what anybody was up to, or very rarely you didn't really know. So yeah, I guess we did have a little bit of that. But I think musically, I think we were different because it's a different discipline music to the rest of it. We were. I mean, I heard Robbie's stuff and Graeme stuff, and I thought it was brilliant. So I used to be trying to be as good as them, and Dave too, of course. But I think amongst the dev teams, they wouldn't really see another game. Only rarely would you get to see what the other game was going to be like in its early stages. You might see it towards the end, but not in the early stages.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I know Robin did a bit of hip hop for Killer Instinct. So I was wondering Robin he did a great job. Yeah, he's great. I mean, if you heard him, we're like, this is
good. Yeah, definitely. Well, I played on Killer Instinct 2. I did a guitar on that on the arcade machine.
Did you?
Robin did the K1 and K2 on the arcade machine. Graeme did K1 with Robin, and Robin did take Killer Instinct 2 by himself on the arcade machine. So he had the full machine in his room, and he could play through the speaker to see what it sounded like when he did rock music. And I did the guitar and trumpet actually on Killer Instinct 2 on the arcade machine. That's in fact, I got to Rev. That was my first job, and I got to Rev. I was playing guitar for him.
Oh, really? Because you did work on working on the Donkey Kong music, the Donkey Kong Land, I think port it was.
Yeah, on the Game Boy. Yeah, but that was like convert. Yeah, that was a kind of.
I heard the story that was really hard, and David just chucked you on the deep end, and you had to learn like some sort of what is it like specific coding of some sort.
It's in hex. Yeah, it's in hex. So I've never seen that before in my life. I was like, what on earth is this? I was used to MIDI files and friendly things like that and sequences, like seeing like hex, just like 4 numbers on a screen. The first 2 numbers of the note, second 2 numbers of the length of the note, and you just program it in columns on black and white, on the screen, and write little sub clauses where you pull in, all that nonsense that I didn't understand. And Dave was brilliant at it, and just sort of just thought I'd understand it. And of course, I was a bit stupid and didn't understand it at all. But I got there in the end. Yeah, but yeah, I was doing kind of that, and I did guitar for Robin on Killer Instinct and trumpet as well.
So with the hex, how long did it take you to really be good at it?
Well, I don't know if I ever got good at it, but I did my best. I feel like I got to enjoy it in the end. I think because it's that same old thing of having to try and work with limitations, and sometimes it makes you be a bit more creative. So there was little tricks to make things sound certain ways, and it was it was fun. I had Dave's music, and I just listened to it and worked it out by ear and put it into the Game Boy. So yeah, it was all right in the end. But at the start, it was very like, oh my god, this is going to be terrible. And then Dave said to me, after you finish this, you might get a chance to go into the virtual that virtual Game Boy at the time, that kind of 3D thing. Yeah. And he said, there's got 2 more channels. I was like, oh God, I'm not going to enjoy that. It's going to be pretty awful. But luckily, they got dumped and I never did it. I went to the N64. I did genuinely enjoy doing the Game Boy at the start. Not at the start, but when I got properly into it, it was good. It was good fun trying to see what you can make it work and make it sound fuller than it was and all that stuff. And some people seem to like my Sticker Brush Symphony rendition. I don't know why on the Game Boy, but I thought Dave's music on DK2 was fantastic. Oh, both of DK1 and 2 was fantastic. Oh
yeah, I think DKC2 in particular is just one of the greatest soundtracks ever.
Fantastic.
It's just,
Dave did it.
Ridiculously good.
Yeah, awesome job. He did a great job on that.
Yeah. And in regards to Goldeneye, I just wanted to ask, is because you and Graeme, it pretty much sounded seamless between the 2 of you. Like, you can't tell that there's 2 different composers?
Right.
How did you guys make that happen? Did
Pure
you guys...
luck.
Pure luck.
Yeah,
really?
we never discussed any of it. Because I guess the sample set of the music was on the cartridge, right? All the little samples where the drum sounds and all they're all on the cartridge. And you played the sounds in the cartridge from your computer. That's how it worked. So we're both using the same sound set. So I guess that would be half the battle already. The fact that they're using the same sound set, so that would sound similar. I mean, we have different writing styles. I think I can tell well, I can tell my own writing style and stuff from Graeme. But because we use the same sound set, I guess most people probably couldn't tell the difference between us. And it's completely feasible. That's probably the reason that if you're using the same synth and the same stuff, it's going to sound similar for the start, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Have you ever collaborated with an artist at the same time? Because you know how you might have multiple composers working on one game,
right?
But usually you're not in the same room though.
Right, only once. I've only ever collaborated with somebody. Me and Danny Baranowski, who's a great friend of mine, we did Desktop Dungeons together. That was where he'd work on I'd write a piece and pass it to him. He'd write a piece, pass it to me, but I'd bits of it. That's the only time I've ever done it like that. Anytime I've been with any other composer, you've done your own thing completely separately. So I like working on Civilization, Beyond Earth. There's me and Jeff Knorr and Michael Curran and Griffin Cohen. Like, we all did our own stuff. That's the way it was. So that's the way it's always been. I've never actually physically collaborated on a piece with anybody apart from Danny Baranowski.
Do you actually get much time to play games?
No.
Yeah. Usually that's the case with composers, right?
I feel like it's got worse as time's gone on. I feel like at Rare, I would play through every game I ever worked on, and so I knew that. But it got to the point where games got so big, you couldn't get through it before they made the next version of it. So you'd be bug testing it, try to find out, make sure the audio worked, and then another version said you got to start again, another version you've got to start again. So I feel like Grabbed by the Ghoulies was the last game that I got through of my own, actually all the way through, and I could check it all the way through. I don't feel like any other game I got through anywhere near it. So, I think I do try to stay aware of what's going on in games world, what kind of thing. But I don't like getting too close to it because I don't want to get influenced by anybody else. So I don't really know what other people are writing. I might listen to the main theme of games when they come out and just check out what people are doing. Not rival composers, but fellow composers. But I try not to listen too much to what they actually write because I want to keep my head full of me and not full of anybody else. And that can be a good or a bad thing. I guess if people like the way I write, great. If they don't, I'm not going to get a gig because they hate the way I write. Right? So, it's like that thing. But I do try to keep my own head clear of anybody else. Apart from people like John Williams, who I know I talk about all the time, but because I idolise him, I listen to his music a lot. I do listen to other people like Alan Silvestri, Danny Elfman, people like that. I do listen to what they do. But games-wise, I don't think I really know what's going on in the games world, like compositionally. I listen to Austin Winchester, a friend of mine. I listen to stuff, or Sarah Shackner, or Danny Baranowski, or Jimmy Hinson, or I listen to some of their stuff, kind of thing. But I won't know all of it. I might know the main theme, a couple of pieces, that'll be it, because I don't want to get too heavily into what they're doing. Yeah,
fair enough. Makes sense. I suppose your kids would probably keep you up with the play too, in regards to games.
Yeah. My son's a massive gamer, so I do hear stuff, kind of thing there. But not as much as you'd think. I really do try to keep myself clear of other people's stuff. And I say that could be detrimental. It could be, I don't know.
Well, if it works for you, then it's all.
Well, so far, but I mean, like I say, I think you do. It's good to know what is going on, but I don't get too into it. As I say, I might listen to a main theme, I might listen to a couple of pieces from a game or whatever it is to see what people are up to. But I don't know stuff intimately by any means. Yeah.
Well, hey, if I ever get Peter Jackson or somebody or some film director on here, I'll see if I can be like, hey, you should get. Yeah, I'll be like, hey, you want to get Grant Kirkhope to do the soundtrack?
Yes, that's good. To do that, I'll give you a backhander.
Yeah, is there any game franchises or any particular movie franchise that you'd want to work on if given the opportunity?
I guess I'd love to have a crack. Yeah, I'd love to have a crack at Zelda. I mean, it never happened, but I'd love to have a crack at Zelda. I love Zelda.
Oh, they could get you to do one song or one track or something. Well,
I mean, Zelda Link to the Past is my favourite game of all time. I love that game on the SNES. It was so good.
Yes.
I just think it's brilliant. I think movie-wise, well, right now, my goal is right now, which is it's a little bit in the clouds, and I'm never going to get there. But Illumination, who do the Despicable Me and the Minions movies and stuff like that, they are making a Super Mario Brothers full animation.
They are, yes.
So that's my goal. I want to compose for that movie. I feel like I've done the Mario Rabbids game now. I know Mario, and I know working with Nintendo. I know what they're like about protecting their music, and they want you to respect the character, and I've got that. I know how to respect Mario, and I really think I could do a good job with the Mario movie. I mean, I fully accept that I'm probably going to get nowhere near it. They're probably just going to hire some Hollywood AAA guy. I guess that's the way it goes. But I really think that would be I could do a good job of the Super Mario movie. I really feel like I could do a good job of that. So I'm trying to get myself in the frame for that. I have a few little connections that are probably going to go nowhere, but I'm actively trying to do something about that. But as I say, I doubt very, very strongly I'd get anywhere near it.
Because I'd imagine in LA, it's all about who you know, right? It's just
totally.
Yeah. So how do you network? How do you get out there?
Are you telling me? I don't know. It's one of those things that you just have to, I feel like having a talent is 50%, and the other 50% is the people that you know, without a doubt. Like just being a good composer is going to get you nowhere. Quite honestly, I don't really know how to get to those kind of top director people. I guess to get the Mario movie, you probably have to know the director. Like they're not even announced it yet. There's only 2 people on the IMDb something so far. It's like Shigeru Miyamoto and Christopher Melandandri, who's the head of Illumination. There's the 2 people there's nobody else associated with the movie so far. I don't even know who's producing it, and I don't have no idea. So when they finally announce who those people are, maybe I can try and find out if I can get to them, and maybe they're gamers, and maybe I'll get a shot at it. But probably not.
Well, hey, you never know. It's not like it's unrealistic. It's actually quite plausible. I mean, it actually makes a lot of sense, to be perfectly fair, because
I feel like
you've worked in that world before. You know how it all works.
Yeah. And Nintendo know me well, so Nintendo are going to be super protective about that IP because that's their biggest IP they have, right?
Yeah,
they're not going to get and let anybody Illumination otherwise make a mess of it. So, they know how respectful I am of their properties. They've worked with me before. They know that I'm completely easy to work with. I'll do what they want. So, I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I could do a good job of that movie. I can make a good job of it, and I would pour my entire life and soul into that project for as long as it takes to make it brilliant. So all I can do is
maybe we need to take a clip of this podcast and then just plaster it all over social media.
That's right.
And get the word out so they know.
Get a petition going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool.
So that would be my kind of goal, I would think, in the immediate future. Apart from working on more game stuff, which I really like to do, but movie-wise, I feel like the Mario thing would be a good fit for me.
Have you met John Williams?
No. Oh, I've been in the same room as him a few times. I was too scared to talk to him.
What?
So I never said hello. But I've been in the same room as him a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, and I've just kind of looked at him from afar.
You didn't want to walk up to him and just be like, "Hey, I'm a huge fan." Mind you, that's quite cliche to do that, isn't it?
I know. What do you say? I mean, I don't know what you say. I mean, I kind of feel like the best way to meet someone like that would be some kind of a setting where you got to, I don't know.
Someone needs to introduce you. That's usually the best way. I think when you just rock up to someone and just start talking to them, it can.
I know it's difficult. I think a lot of us composers are introverts. Really, we don't like being like that. So. Yeah, as I say, same room a couple of 2 or 3 times. I couldn't do it.
Because obviously you are very well known in the video game world. Do you get stopped on the street? Do you still have anonymity?
Okay, occasionally I do get that. It's weird. I think it's actually happening more and more these days. I don't quite know why. I go into the grocery store and the guy on the ticket, I'll go and get my credit card and say, "Just a minute, you're Grant Kirkhope. Are you the guy?" And it starts a bit like that. I was walking on the street, my son the other day, and he went a Banjo Kazooie t-shirt, and someone said, "Oh, Banjo Kazooie," and they went, "Oh, God, you're Grant," it's a bit like that. So I do get it occasionally. It's a bit weird. I always try to be nice to people. It's not like it happens every day, but it seems like more and more these days, which is nice. For God's sake, who'd thought that I'd ever been known for anything apart from nothing?
Well, it just goes to show that you never know what's around the corner, right?
True. As I say, I'm still in the game. I'm still doing it. I'm still cracking on with the stuff that I do. I think you've got to make your own luck. And I'm by no means good at that, but I'm endeavouring to do that.
Well, listen, I'll probably wrap up here. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're a very, very busy man. So everyone can just follow you on social media. You're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I guess Twitter's probably my main source of malarkey. I do like messing around on Twitter. It's good fun. All the people that follow me have a good laugh, and it's kind of a very good-natured. So I do like, messing around on Twitter. So that's probably my best thing, at Grant Kirkhope.
Yeah.
So you'll get me there.
Okay, that's good. And I'm so glad that you're doing okay, given the environment, particularly in the States.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, we're just keeping ourselves to ourselves. We're not going out, and that's all you can do until it's all over, until we get a vaccine or whatever.
Yeah,
So, fingers crossed for that.
Cool. All right, well, that's the show, everyone. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and support Grant. Get the petition going for him to get the composing role for the Super Mario film.
Yeah, there's a drink in it for all of you.
Yeah. Well, imagine if you won an award for it too. That would be better, right?
Absolutely, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Stay safe, everyone. See ya.